What's up, y'all? Here we go again for another episode of Black Factor. And we're going to talk about this weekend review. But what I'm mainly going to talk about today is the economics. The economics of what we're witnessing today. And part of the economics that we are not aware and we're not thinking about right now. Because it's getting ready to get just a little bit uglier on a whole nother level. And I think that's something that we need to be paying real close attention to. So hang on. We're going to get it crunk. Come on. Glass. All right. So I'm going to start out because what we're going to do is we're going to recap this week because a lot of other stuff went on besides this whole, let me not give it a name, let's say with everything that we seeing, with everything that we witnessing. So we're going to recap this week. A Georgia youth pastor claims that black men abducted and robbed him just to keep them from finding out that he was at a hotel with a man. He met the man on Craigslist, and the youth pastor was subsequently arrested for that. Thank goodness. Florida woman claims that two black men kidnapped her autistic son only to be charged with murder because she pushed him into the canal. That video, in fact, is floating around on Facebook. You can find that one. It is readily available. Now, the next thing is a New York woman, everybody remembers this one, in Central Park. She made a false claim that a black man was attacking her, all because she asked to put a leash on her dog. Well, she has since lost her job and the dog. Yeah, sorry, not sorry. And of course, the Minneapolis man who threatened to call the police, but instead called the building manager on a group of black men who were working out in the gym of the building in which he leases and has an apartment in. Well, he later found out that the black men have a lease in the building as well, and his actions led to the termination of his lease. Thankfully, the building management saw fit to take care of that and get rid of the bigot. Well, police in Minneapolis, of course, arrested a black man and murdered him by keeping a knee on his neck until he passed out, which we all know he was dead right there on the scene. Even though they say he was pronounced dead at the hospital, we know it is required. A doctor is required to be present in order to pronounce someone dead, but you and I both know, or shall I say, you all and I know, the man was dead far sooner than they pronounced it. The four policemen were fired, and hopefully charges are following soon, which we know that one of those officers has been arrested. And for the life of me, I'm struggling to understand why the other three officers have not been arrested as yet. So, of course, that caused me to do a lot of thinking. And in doing so, I have questioned why. And I've come up with a few answers. We're going to get to those. You know, it bothers me that, thank you, we have a system that people who don't want to hear us complain or go on about racism or the race card causes these very same people to claim that when we complain about racism or we complain about the things that are taking place where racism or white privilege is at play, we are told at that point that we are being racist. Good evening, Valerie, Val, and Alfreda. Thank you for checking in. It's amazing how they do that. Well, they like to flip the script, and it goes back to what I talked about the other day in regard to the villain always pretending to be the victim. They become the victim in order to further their cause in the heartless manner in which they do. We black people do not play the race card. We simply point things out. However, when we do play the race card, we're only playing in the game that was invented by who? Imagine that. All right. Problem is, we can't sit in Starbucks. We can't rent an Airbnb. We can't nap in the college lounge, jog or exercise. We can't take vacations. We can't break down on the road. We can't do our job and deliver food or packages. We can't barbecue in the park, go shopping. We can't use a coupon while shopping. We can't cut our neighbor's grass. We can't sell hot dogs, bottled water, or lemonade. We can't go swimming. We can't play golf. We can't leave work late. We can't have or carry a weapon legally without being killed by the police. We can't relax or sleep in our own home, apartment, or play with our friends or relatives without someone calling the police, or the police showing up and shooting us to death. That is amazing. We can't breathe. We can't live in peace, but we're playing the race card. Well, I don't want to play this game anymore. Imagine that. So yesterday I brought up a particular topic, something that is a bit disturbing to me, which is that of all of the other elements that are adding themselves to this equation. And some of you may or may not know what I mean when I say that. Well, interesting thing is, first let me start by breaking something down. And y'all got to forgive me. I got a million pieces of paper all over the place along with my regular notes because so much stuff happens so fast and I have to keep up with everything and make sure that we get all the information the way that it needs to be presented. So, something I want to make clarity out of before we go any further. We apparently have not just protests and protesters, because we're going to get to the part about all the stuff that's getting tore up. But let's be real. We have protesters, we have rioters, we have looters, and we have agent provocateurs. Now, the protesters are the group of people who are seeking justice. The people who are, in fact, out here because of the events that took place on Monday where a man lost his life at the hands of rogue police officers. The protesters seek justice and seek righteousness from this situation. The funny thing is, if you watch, and I've watched lots of feeds and news and different things, and it's funny when you listen to the reporters talk to these different groups of people, how their responses all vary. Well, the ones that will actually talk usually are actual protesters, and they are seeking justice. Dennis McCullum says, what day is today? Opportunist Day. Yes, sir. We're going to get to that. Absolutely. And Willie Everett, we're going to get to the agent provocateurs. I'm working down my list. Y'all jumping ahead of me. Slow down. Slow down. So my protesters are seeking justice. They're out for attempting to make a difference in terms of equality and us being, as black people, being able to just kind of, move around the way we should without, freedom to move about without being subjected to suspicion, fitting the description, resisting arrest when we've done nothing, or just being generally stereotyped the way some folks like to do with us. Now, right behind the protesters, you have rioters. Now, these are people who usually fit into the protest arena. However, they're a little more rowdy than your average protester. They have a little more to say, and they tend to be a little more active in terms of action rather than talk. They riot, they raise a little hell, they make a little noise, they go and stand in front of the police. They attempt to break out windows at CNN, for example, with a skateboard. They tend to fight the police, start police, make bonfires out of police squad cars and things like that. Those are more of what I like to refer to as anarchists. These are the group of people who love chaos. They live for that shit. They want to see things destroyed and torn up. They care about justice, but they rather just tear up a bunch of stuff. So some of them fit into a gray area. You have some that cross over from protester to rioter. And it's easy for a rioter to be a protester and a protester to be a rioter. It's easy for them to kind of walk in lockstep, if you will. It's just that one is more prepared to raise hell than the other one. Or should I say their forms of raising hell are slightly different. One is a little more physical. Now, right behind that, you have the ones that we are witnessing today, particularly in my hometown, but in every major city across America today. We have your looters. These are, like Mr. McCullum said, your opportunists. These are the people who want justice sometimes for those who actually care, but they don't really care. They're more interested in the opportunity to benefit from the residue of everything else that's going on. Do they actually give a damn about George Floyd or the fact that they could be the next George Floyd, particularly with the behavior and the things they're doing right now? Nah, they don't care about that. They care about the fact that they're going to take advantage of this opportunity. Opportunists. These are your looters. I was in a conversation earlier and I've actually been in multiple conversations over the last day or two that deals with people complaining about people looting and tearing up stuff. I'm still on the fence about it for a multitude of reasons, which I'm going to get into. And it's just one of those things where you have to be careful. We got to be careful what we ask for. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm a business owner. I don't want to see my own business destroyed because of opportunists. However, I am also fully aware that if I am a business owner and I've done my business the way that it should be, I'm insured. And of course, my insurance company is going to have to pay for this because that's why I pay them. It's a funny thing about the insurance game. They collect a lot of money over a long period of time, but the minute something big jump off, they holler and they scream. But they got to pay off. And it's as simple as that. Now, all of these different elements injecting themselves into these protests are causing, of course, further unrest. But now you got to remember that there's a level of potential that comes out of all of this for many different things to happen. The question has to be asked, how many different factions, organizations, groups, ideas, ideologies, mentalities are attempting to use the death of George Floyd as a vehicle to further their own cause, however petty or complex it may be. We're looking, y'all got to remember this thing is huge, and it's turning into a bit of a mess, a bit of a confused and muddled mess. I hope that we don't lose sight of the purpose here and what it is that needs to be taking place. It's getting real messy. Enrico Shepard, absolutely correct. Burning and looting is part of the American culture. It always has been. The funny thing is, the people who are the ones that perpetrate violence and have perpetrated violence throughout the history of this country are the very ones that are saying, oh, you should be peaceful. Imagine that. They always want you to be peaceful. But we also have to remember These are the same ones who took everything that they got in this country. They hijacked, stole, kidnapped, raped, robbed, and now do it on another level. But expect us to be peaceful and remain silent about our own demise. They took everything they had. And now they want to make you believe that somehow they came by it honestly. This is what you're witnessing on television today is a manifestation of learned behavior. This is what happens when the chickens come home to roost. This is what happens when you think you're going to be one of those people who says, do as I say and not as I do. And where did we learn that? We learned that from our parents. But guess what? It applies to the social status of where we are today. You can't tell a group of people, do as I say and not as I do, and continue to beat them like animals into a corner, because eventually they're going to jump out and they're going to bite you. Funny thing is, I keep hearing the word violence throughout all of this, yet I really don't see a lot of violence. I see a lot of destruction. I wouldn't necessarily call that violent. Violence to me is when people get hurt. I haven't really seen anybody get hurt. I've seen a whole bunch of stuff. And when I say hurt, I mean physically. This is, I guess, if you can be violent toward inanimate objects or worry about property, then yeah, but I don't think that's violent. We have to take a look at the economic fallout that's coming. Now, here we are. I talked, I guess, about 2 weeks ago, maybe longer, where I discussed coronavirus and the economic fallout. Here's the funny thing. On the heels, and I don't even want to say on the heels because it's still going on. We are still dealing with coronavirus. And I'm going to go out on a limb right here. I'm going to say you said it here. You heard it here first. I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say you're going to see a lot of very ill people in the very near future, because there are a lot of folks running around raising a whole lot of hell and acting like this virus is not still out here. Which brings me to my next point. Businesses were shuttered for weeks. There are businesses that have literally closed behind all of this that are not going to reopen. There are businesses who have lost a ton of money. There are people who have lost jobs. The unemployment rate is at its highest that it has been in decades. Well, let me not say decades, because we did just have another president who basically ran the train into the ditch. And we had a conductor who was capable of pulling it out of the ditch and setting it back on the right track. And it is now headed back into the ditch. You notice how every time the train starts to head into a ditch, there's a particular political party in power who, by the way, have run up the deficit another $5 trillion, but nobody's talking about that. Let me tell y'all how bad this is getting ready to get. And I'm throwing this warning out here to you all, because let me tell you something. If you never took a time in your life to save and set something aside and prepare yourselves, now would be the time. This is one of those times. You don't have much time. This thing is about to get real ugly. Not only are we going to have a resurgence of this virus, a lot more people are going to die and become sick. I pray that I am not one of them, and I pray that I don't lose any more family members, because I have lost. The problem is this: the financial fallout that's about to hit this country behind this is going to make George W. Bush's regime look like child's play. We went into a recession under George W. We are about to hit a full-blown depression. I'm going to say it again. You heard it here first. Now, Y'all thought hoarding toilet paper was a funny thing? Baby, listen, you better start thinking about that all over again, because not only are we going to have a second wave of coronavirus, we are also going to have a economic fallout from this event based on the fact that a lot of these businesses and their tax dollars are there's going to be some communities that suffer. We had, in fact, Dennis McCullum, who was on this thread, and I we're having a discussion earlier, and he was concerned about the areas, especially because he is a Chicagoan like myself, the areas that are being hit within the city. And yes, they are tearing the South Side apart right now as we speak. The problem, and he was complaining, of course, that, don't tear up your own neighborhood, which is the mantra that we always hear. However, we also know that they hit the Magnificent Mile yesterday and last night. They hit downtown. They have hit areas in Chicago that are not the hood, the black neighborhoods. They are hitting people. They're hitting places that generally don't get hit. This is happening all across the United States. It's no longer confined to the areas where the people who look the most like the people that are being oppressed are being set aside in these businesses. It is happening all over. I watched yesterday right here in Texas, Austin, Texas, to be exact. I had to literally search the video to find black people, and it was all white people, and they literally were tearing Austin apart. I think I even saw a cop get his ass kicked. This is turning into something else. Although it is still a protest, it is also a whole lot of other things. It is a riot. It is looting. And I did not get to my final group, which is where I'm going with this conversation, my agent provocateurs. There are groups of people, highly organized people, that are going around and they are causing even more destruction. And they also fall under the rioter category as anarchists. See, the anarchists, or should I say, the anarchists a lot of them are agent provocateurs. These are the people who are using this as a vehicle to further their own agendas, especially those who have a problem with law enforcement, and they always have. They are against law enforcement, and they're against a lot of what law enforcement stands for. So they are out here in the mix of everything that's going on, tearing up more stuff and destroying more property and looking to point the finger at those in our own communities and say that they're the ones that's causing it. And then don't get me wrong, we are tearing up some shit. But this is what's happening. Antifa, I believe it was the president today said that he wants to make Antifa a domestic terrorist organization. He wants to label them. My immediate thought is that if he wants to label anyone, he should name first the KKK and the neo-Nazis and some of those others. Those white supremacist groups need to also be labeled as domestic terrorists, because that is all they have done in this country to date, from their origin and from their onset. And we remember, the KKK been around a long time. Them cats been terrorizing the black community for a long time. I guess when you terrorize black folks, you're not considered a terrorist. I don't know. Willie Everett, you're absolutely correct. We must mention that some of these individuals are paid participants. Again, agent provocateurs. Let's also remember that within that agent provocateur group, you have plainclothes police officers that are walking among the protesters. They are in the mix. I got information via Twitter that some of the police officers are wearing these bracelets that are thin blue. They call thin blue line bracelets, and they are recognized by other police officers so that they would know who's who in all of the melee and all of the things that are being instigated by some of these agent provocateurs. Also, I heard, I don't know how true it is, I heard that there were some people sporting MAGA hats in some of this stuff. Now, I had to ask myself, why? Well, let me not get ahead, because I'm going to get to that. On some of this stuff that I'm saying, let me just say that I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm just blowing smoke. I hope that some of the things that I'm saying are only things that can't possibly happen, or that maybe I'm reading too much into it. You know, some folks say us Virgos, we're a little too analytical. However, I can't help it. I look at things and I have to ask myself, why? Why is this happening? Why is that happening? Why is this going this way or that way? Well, we have someone at the head of this country. I hesitate to refer to him as a leader, but he is what is known as the leader of the free world, who in fact possesses very poor leadership skills. But what I've noticed is that he's not said one word in the way of unifying people or trying to stop the madness. What is that about? Why is he so deathly silent? And the only thing that comes out of his Twitter account are negative, violent, and derogatory tweets, attacks on other people. I'm sorry. You know, you can be a Trump supporter if you like. I know there are many, but I don't care what your politics are. Because to be frankly honest with you, there are a few Republicans that I would love to see in that office right now beside the one that's in there. Because as far as humanity is concerned, he doesn't have a human bone in his body. Something wrong with him. He's mentally ill. He's not made any attempts to bring this country together. He's only worried about serving himself and the way he wants things to go, because he wants to be in control, because he thinks he is the king of America. I can't wait for November. Only problem is, between November and January, he can do an awful lot of damage. And I pray that someone in the Republican Party in the Senate is willing to stand in front of him and Mitch McConnell and make it all stop. The damage that's been done to this country is almost, I fear, irreparable. We're gonna end up going in a whole different direction. I wouldn't care what the party was that's at the head. I wouldn't care what the things that are happening here. If a Democrat had done it, I wouldn't give a damn. Something wrong with this person, and somebody need to say something, do something. They tried all kinds of stuff. Nothing seemed to work. Now, anyway, we're in the middle of a pandemic to go along with what's happening across the nation. Now, the funny thing is, they are now protesting in London, England. This thing has spread across the water. The world is in an uproar. Black people across the globe that reside in colonial environments are protesting, who have been affected by what looks like white supremacy around the world, are now standing up in protest and in solidarity with black people in the United States. Cynthia, absolutely right. The Amish are protesting. I saw pictures of some Amish people and standing there in their little gray dresses holding up signs that say BLM on them. and have George Floyd's name on them. Hashtag George Floyd. That is amazing to me. But it just goes to show you this has been a long time coming. We're sitting on a powder keg. It shows you that this is or should I say, that man's knee was the proverbial straw that has broken the beast's back. The beast is being awakened. The time is coming, like it or not, because one thing is for sure: everything that is taking place, whether we like what's happening or not, it should be painfully clear to anyone watching that if this happens again, it actually can't happen again. If it happens again, whew, man, bruh, and it's getting progressively worse. This can't happen again. We know it's going to, and when it does, you need to ask yourself, are you prepared for what's going to happen when it does? Because it's going to get real ugly out here in these streets. It's ugly right now. It's going to be uglier than that. Try to imagine what that looks like. Again, while all of this is happening, we are still in the middle of a pandemic. Well, we're in the middle of civil unrest, and our commander, our liar and thief, normally commander-in-chief, remains silent. And the things that he does have to say are not beneficial to anyone except his ego. You know, his ego has a whole Twitter page all of his own. All of these businesses have already been closed because of coronavirus. And now we have the looting virus. Yes, looting. That's a virus. And it is affecting us across. We have a looting pandemic. Now, right now, it's just an epidemic because it's only in this country. But if we're not careful, it's going to turn into a pandemic. But then you also have to remember, too, other countries, their rules are a little different when it comes to how they deal with their protesters. They probably will get dealt with a little more harshly than we are. But I venture to say that if our law enforcement agencies are not very careful, and if they do take it upon themselves to become more zealous and overzealous as we're accustomed to them being, this could turn into something far worse, which goes back to our anarchists and our agent provocateurs, who are actually using this as a vehicle for that very purpose. And that goes back to what this is all about. When those anarchists and those white nationalists have caused enough havoc to cause the National Guard to be deployed across this entire country, literally, National Guard has been called out, I believe, in 8 or 9 states at this point. I hope you all are aware of what the next step is. The next step is martial law. Now, once martial law is invoked, now you're talking about a level of military and police presence that the citizenry of this country, I don't believe, is prepared to handle. And not that we don't believe we can handle it, but it's going to cause the sort of civil uprising that will allow other nations to begin chipping away at the fabric of what this country is, although we've done a good job of that on our own, that will begin to cause this democracy to fold. Now, I know that seems extreme to y'all, but you got to look at this thing for what it all is. Dennis, would this stop if the other 3 cops are jailed? Not at this point. It's gone too far. They had an opportunity to stop this, and that was one of my main questions. What would it look like if 2 days ago they had just said, hey, look, we arrested these other 3 guys? I think things would have begun to die down. I think now the cat is out of the bag. There's going to be more of an uproar than we've seen ever. This is unprecedented. Nothing like this has ever happened, ever taken place on this scale in this country. There have been pockets of unrest and things that have happened, but nothing like this. Curfews are already being set in most large metropolitan cities. Absolutely. But it's not going to be enough because people are defiant and they do not have enough law enforcement to stop this. And I can assure you that because these people love their guns in this country so much, because of the NRAs and other organizations like that, if it ever gets to a place where there is a straw to be broken and a camel that's carrying the load that's too heavy, because that is exactly what's happening right now. We're under very, very heavy load. The individual bold enough in uniform to toss that straw onto the back of this oppression and these things that are taking place, he is going to set off a shitstorm of violence. Police in uniform will have targets on their backs. I don't condone that, but I understand. I don't want to see that. But we also have to pay attention to the people in this country who have continuously slaved and worked and done everything in their power to make a way for themselves, only to be shut down. And because one overzealous officer decides, I don't like you, I'm going to do something to you, I'm going to put a charge on you, these things happen. Now, I'm going to show y'all a video that I just got yesterday. I posted it on my page, but this thing right here is yet another example or a scene from the George Floyd situation. There's more and more video coming out about this thing, but check this out, y'all. Oh, wait a minute. Here we go. Now look at the posture. They're actually beating him inside the car. This is before, on both sides, this is before they snatch him back out and throw him on the ground and place his knee in that man's neck. See, he had malice in his heart from the very beginning. And now, those three officers, those are the ones who jumped on his back. And as we can see, Mr. Clown Man here with his hands in his pockets, he's the one that just stood around and watched all of this play out and never tried to stop them from killing George Floyd. Now, why have those officers not been taken into custody as yet? Well, that remains to be seen, y'all. So, the thing is, these officers are kind of like that straw. What I don't understand, that I'm struggling with, is why. Why have they not been taken into custody? Michael Samsonite, good to see you, my brother. Hey, Renee. Good to see everybody. Thank y'all for checking in. There's a lot of people that have watched black folks protest and raise hell in the past and always say things like, well, why are they burning down their own stuff? And they make jokes and they laugh and they call black folks animals and so on and so forth. Well, this time they've taken it one step further. And now those same people are actually feeling the fallout from these protests. It's gotten huge. Their stores. Let me tell you something. When a protest gets so bad that it is allowed to get all the way to the Magnificent Mile in Chicago, It's pretty damn bad. They boarded up Water Tower. I'd say they were taking this thing to another level. And again, I want to say that these are not simply black folks. I have seen countless numbers of pictures of white folks looting, stealing, and tearing up stuff. And that goes back to the group. Those are my rioters and my anarchists, the ones I talked about a little while ago. So I guess I'm still struggling with people who are still trying to ride that particular horse. That horse is not it's not ready. It's not going. You can't ride that horse no more. That's a dead horse. Stop beating it. Everybody is looting. Everybody. Just because certain neighborhoods have certain people in them, and it looks like that's all it's doing, it's not. It's way bigger than that. Carmen Love says they stole an ATM and they got the weed dispensary and a jewelry row. Jewelry row been hit too. Okay, see, there you go. And and I heard they were renting U-Hauls in Chicago. Thank you, Cynthia, for that. I heard about that too. They were renting U-Hauls and going around picking up stuff. Now, I saw a picture of another officer, by the way, who was in a crowd. Now, what happened was they took the picture and they pointed out certain things. They could see the print in his back pocket, which were handcuffs. They saw the little bracelet that I talked about earlier that he had on. They showed particular things about him that showed that he was an officer. He had on body armor underneath his T-shirt. Willie Everett, thank you. I was going to bring that up. I heard about that too. They stole a police horse. I don't mean to laugh, y'all, but they stole a police horse. Come on, man. You know that'll get you in a lot of trouble, especially here in Texas. In Texas, that's a hanging offense. Yep. And Lori raised all the bridges in Chicago. My wife said that's petty. But anyway, we know why she did it. Now, very large businesses and very small businesses have been hit by this. The large businesses will survive. And this is nationally. This is not just Chicago. I'm speaking about Chicago right now because that's home and because I know a lot of people there and I get a lot of information from there. However, I have friends in other parts of the country. And every city, New York, New Jersey, and I mean Newark, for example, Philadelphia has been hit very hard. L.A., they are mass destruction in L.A. They hit Austin yesterday. There are a number of cities throughout the entire United States, even some that you wouldn't even think would be going through any of this. In fact, they actually did damage to a mall here in San Antonio on yesterday. This is not just the thing that we've been seeing, and we're so accustomed to reacting to the old way things get done that we are still kind of in that same mindset. But I challenge each and every one here to raise your level of thinking to this being something more. Expand your thoughts on what's happening right now. This is the narrative has always been black folks destroying their own infrastructure and resources. The narrative is now shifted. And I want to also say, if, for example, all of the businesses in certain black communities do get destroyed, let's say all of them got taken out. The comments have been made that those businesses will never return and they won't get replaced. But my challenge to everyone is this. We don't need any more Asian nail shops. We don't need no more Asian-owned beauty supply stores. We don't need no more Chinese food places. We don't need no more of the Arabs and their fish and shrimp or whatever the hell these type of places. Because I ain't going to lie to y'all. When I come home to Chicago, one thing that stood out to me and has always stood out to me, and it bothers me when I'm on the South Side, especially when I go into these restaurants and I want to get something to eat because I don't want to make my mama cook or something like that. I can never find anything green to eat. Like I can't get any vegetables with my food. I struggle with that. I don't want to always go and get a basket of shrimp or some other fried thing on the south side. I want, some real food. Well, my point is that we can replace those businesses. We can fund those businesses from within. What would it look like if, when these businesses are destroyed, that we take up our own causes and provide a beauty supply store that's black owned? Foods and restaurants and groceries that are black owned. All of the other sorts of infrastructure that is black owned. I can remember, I see y'all are talking about 87th Street for that matter. I remember when Seaway Bank was right there, black owned. Why don't we have any more brick and mortar black banks? Where will all the money come from to start the black businesses? Dennis, that is not a very difficult hurdle, in my opinion. And I say that because as a business owner, I am a master at starting businesses on very little. It is not as complicated as it would seem. All it requires is the right attitude and people willing to do the work. It's not that hard. It doesn't require as much money as one thinks. And I know you're astute in business yourself, but I happen to know for a fact that it can be done. I believe that we can replace those businesses and those entities that were a part of our community where we paid our money into and we watched our money leave the community, just fly away. Every day we put our money into our communities, and that money runs out of our community. And then we wonder why, Dennis, we don't have the money to do business in our community, because the money doesn't recirculate the way it should in the hands of the people in this community, in our communities. If they can do it, guess what? They don't put their pants on no different than we do. And I guarantee you, we can do it. And we can have everything we need. And it goes back to, see, here's a quick history lesson. Many of you already know about Tulsa, Oklahoma. Many of you already know about Black Wall Street. We already know what the demise of Black Wall Street was. But we also know that we're talking about a community, and there were many like it. We just use that one as a measuring stick. But the fact is, we had everything needed for the infrastructure of the community within the community, which is partially what pissed them people off enough to tear it up. See, here's the learned behavior. Black folks stopped building stuff because every time black folks built stuff that benefited them folks tore it down. That's history. That's the truth. Fact is, I don't know that it would be that easy these days. We're in a little bit different place than we were back then. Proof that we're in a different place than we were back then is right now today. Look at your television. Walk outside your door. Go to any major street, especially if you're on the south side of Chicago. My son just got to Chicago 2 days ago. And today he called me to tell me that he was driving past, or attempting to drive past, 87th and Cottage Grove, and they were looting the Nike, the Foot Locker, in which he found to be quite disturbing. Foot Locker's not owned by anybody black. I know that we could get somebody in there to build a franchise for Foot Locker that is. I know that there are, I remember, I'm going to test you Chicagoans right now. Who remembers when 87th Street between, let's say, King Drive and South Chicago? Everything up and down there was just about black owned. Everything. Where did it all go? What happened? Remember Cam and Nate's? Who remembers Cam and Nate? Man, look, that was the spot. Get your clothes. You had, doggone it, I can't think of her name, that owned the nail shop on 87th Street. And I'm going into recent years. My wife's mother was one of the first black women entrepreneurs that had a salon on 87th Street back in the 60s. You know, we could go on all day about all of what we had that we let go of. But the fact is, we can have it again. Our youth right now is in them streets, proving to us that things can and will be different. It is inevitable that the fallout behind this is going to be very, very different. It's not going to be the same. Nothing is going to ever be the same. COVID-19 all by itself created some things that we're going to make sure that change is coming. Now we have chaos. And from chaos, y'all know, it's like a phoenix from the ashes. Burn it all down so we can start new. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. I ain't mad they burning it down. I want to see it built back up, but I want to see it built back up for us. I want to see a beauty supply store with somebody that looks like me, because I'm gonna be honest with you, I got a problem with beauty supply stores anyway, because I know what they represent. I got a problem with these Asian nail salons because I know what they represent. I want to go back to the days where my sisters went to another sister who actually practiced proper hygiene and proper nail bed care and things of that nature and took care of the sisters the way they deserve to be taken care of. I want to see them days come back. I want to see my sisters going in to their beauty salons or beauty supply stores and getting the things that they need, and another black person is benefiting from those purchases. I'm not saying any of this is easy. I'm not even suggesting that. But I am Iris Nails. That was it. Thank you, Poppy. But I am suggesting that the opportunity, this does not have to be to our demise. This can be to our benefit. It ain't what you do, it's how you do it. It's all about understanding what's in front of you. There's always a silver lining. Sometimes when things are happening, and I tell people all the time, you see stuff happening and you don't like the way it looks and it's not what you want to see. But sometimes you don't understand why it's being done, and there's a reason. Sometimes when we get so comfortable in the way we do things, and it ain't the right way, even though we think it is, there are powers at play. The Most High gonna move you in ways that you don't even know that's coming, because he gonna place you where you supposed to be so you can get the blessings that you got that's in front of you. Sometimes he gonna make you move. You don't want to move because you're comfortable. You ain't supposed to be right there. Comfort is not what it's cracked up to be. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. The times when I'm comfortable, I shouldn't be. I get that way. When I wrote this book, for example, The Black Factor, get your copy today. I want you to understand that it took me a long time to make that happen. And when I did finally, I realized after I finished, I felt empty. I had given birth to an idea, but I felt empty. I felt empty because I needed to do something else. There's got to be something else. And I found out that it wasn't the final product that taught me so much and that brought me to where I was. It was the journey. And we all need to be taking more journeys. Those journeys, is so much to see along the way. There's so much to do along the way, and we all need to do it. We actually have to begin our journeys with those first steps. In this particular case, those first steps might look just like what you see when you look out your window today and you see how much stuff is getting torn down. In order to rebuild and to build, something has to be moved. Something has to be torn down. Something has to be destroyed. Something good can come from all of this that we think is very bad. So I have yet another problem, Ho. And while we're talking about building in our community, this is something that disturbs me. While this protest has gone global, there is a particular deafening silence that is bothering me. And that is the silence of our celebrity crowd. Now y'all, where's all the rappers and the talking heads and all of the people in the community who always have something to say when there's nothing going on? Where are these people? Now, unless I miss something, y'all correct me if I'm wrong. Y'all are here with me. Tell me if I'm wrong. Has anybody heard anybody say anything? Now, I did see Killer Mike had some comments. Jamie Foxx and George Floyd's twin, that he called him, Stephen Jackson. Has anybody else seen anything that was said from any celebrity entities or anybody who is placing themselves on the front line or any of that? Where are they? Like I said, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm waiting. I haven't heard them say anything, and I'm really disappointed by that. We spend our money with these people. These are folks. You know, they got a lot to say when ain't nothing going on. But, you know, I think a lot of people are afraid of harming their brand or doing too much, saying something or doing something that's going to affect the way they operate when things are normal. And I'm going to say this again. Ain't nothing going to be normal anymore. I did an entire show a few weeks ago. Okay, T.I. called for the blackout on July 7th. Okay, that was T.I.'s doing. I didn't know that. That's what I was wondering. I didn't care who did it. All I know is I'm holding my money on July 7th, and I want you all to do the same. I don't care why. I just want to see solidarity in the black community. Hold your money on July 7th. I was going to bring that up a little later on. I have my notes here that speak exactly to that. Please hold your money on July 7th. I'm okay. Chance the Rapper. Okay, good. No Kardashians, no Kanye, no Jay-Z, right? I thought about that too. I was sure wondering about that one. Yeah, no Spike Lee. Okay. Of course, Colin Kaepernick had something to say. No, Kaepernick, he's made a few statements. He said some things. Anyway, I'm bothered by the lack of empathy or the lack of words or concern. I don't know if they're concerned or not because they're not saying anything. I am equally disturbed by the lack of words from the Mango Maniac. Well, then again, not really, because I know he's going to say something stupid. I just want to know where all the black voices are. Where are all these people? These are our supposed leaders. But it just goes to show you who should be leading our communities. And it ain't one of them. It's the people from within. It's the ones that are from within the community that should be doing all the leading and doing all the talking and speaking up for our communities, because they don't have to live there. We do. Here's a funny thing that I thought about. I heard the previous Attorney General under Obama make a statement, and I've heard a few other people say that these people out here destroying and tearing up, and my looters and opportunists. I'm gonna keep y'all on my list right here. Let's go back over that right quick. We got the protesters; those are the justice seekers. We got your rioters who are anarchists. We got your looters who are opportunists, and your agent provocateurs who are police, neo-Nazis, and white nationalists. But I heard her say, and I've heard a few others say, that these people should be ashamed. Man, let me tell y'all something. First of all, like I said in a previous show a few weeks ago, there is going to be a new normal. What we used to think was normal, and I only said that about COVID-19. I'm getting ready to say it now about this. This is going to increase how different things are going to be. We are going in for a new normal, period, point blank, ain't no getting around it. And she said, like I've heard many others say, these people should be ashamed. Man, I need y'all to understand something. Shame is no longer an effective tool in the toolbox of social norms that is going to be used in an attempt to make people stop doing anything, especially looting and tearing up shit. Shame is no longer a part of our social fabric the way it once was. People have children out of wedlock. That used to be a shameful thing. We have our LGBT community running around here free, marrying each other, doing their thing. Ain't no shame in that no more. Ain't no shame in the things that people used to use to shame people. Do you think for 1 second that these people are ashamed to be seen on CNN all over the world, tearing down gates, taking stuff out the front door? I even saw one guy loading up his car, as a Mexican dude, loading his car full of shoes out of a store, showed his license plate and everything. Man, these people ain't shame of nothing. They might be a little stupid, but because that was stupid. But shame is not a tool anymore. Forget about that. You need to figure out how to reason with or motivate someone to do the right thing or move toward what needs to be. Dennis, polygamy used to be a shame. Absolutely. And it is now, or should I say it is re-becoming an accepted practice. I mean, hell, why does anybody else care what somebody does in their home? If they're happy, you should be happy for them. And it's as simple as that. Shame is not a thing. It's no longer a tool. It's not effective. So they might as well stop with what people ought to be ashamed of. That's not happening. I'm going to say this again. If things continue down the path that it's on, martial law will follow very, very shortly. Nicholas Brown, these fools should be ashamed of their racism. Bro, they ain't never been ashamed of that. When you look back at those photos of those people standing beneath that strange fruit of our ancestors dangling from limbs at the end of hemp ropes, and they smile and they point and they dismember and keep souvenirs and make postcards, they are not ashamed. They've never been ashamed. If we think that we can use that shame as a tool to make them feel some kind of way to do the right thing, we are sadly mistaken. And we go back to what I always say: whenever you ask the wrong questions of people, you will inevitably and always get the wrong answer. It's as simple as that. You have to know what questions to ask. I believe that our current liar and thief is because now, I said that his silence is bothering me. I'm going to tell you why his silence is bothering me. He's not making any inroads toward stopping any of this. He's not suggesting that those other 3 officers be arrested. He is staying clear, which is unusual because he never stays clear of anything, especially when it benefits him. This, however, doesn't benefit him. Or does it? Here's what happens. Here's the story. This guy is happy that this is going on. He's not going to say anything. Why? Because the further out of hand everything gets, the easier it's going to be for him to sign an executive order and say, martial law, whole country shut down. We stopping everything. This is his opportunity to invoke the Stafford Act. Better look that up. This is his chance to sign an executive order that effectively shuts this entire country down and, if possible, affects the upcoming election. Y'all got to stay woke. Pay attention now. This is working in his favor. You got to pay attention. You got to be careful what we ask for. And it ain't what you do, it's how you do it. And we got to be careful how we do what we're doing. Another thought came to me today. And I notice on the news and other areas, they continue to use the word violence in regard to these protests and everything that's going on. I've yet to see, a couple people got hit in the mouth. I watched a cop get, he got harassed a little bit the other day. But these protests have not necessarily been violent. They want to use the term violence, especially when black people are involved, because according to white folks, black people are violent. It's the perception that they use in the narrative that they put out that keeps other white people afraid of us. And they use our black skin as they criminalize it and use it as a tool in order to weaponize the police to bring us down at every turn. But here's the deal. If black folks were nearly, and I've said this before, I'm going to say it again. If black folks were nearly as violent as they have claimed that we were, they would have been taken out a long time ago. And in fact, I've yet to see anywhere throughout the history of the Black Panther Party or any of those that they like to try to compare the KKK to, or even BLM, Black Lives Matter. I have literally not seen one person murdered by any of these organizations and claim it or attach themselves to what is taking place. But we're the ones who are violent. When this group of people killed the Indians, took what they had, continue to keep them in a sort of life-altering limbo on reservations and things of that nature, because unless they conform to their way of doing things, kidnapped my people and done everything in their power to keep my people beneath their boots at every turn. No matter how good, fast, strong, smart, doesn't matter. They work to keep us beneath them. And systematically now that takes place. And today, one of that dude in the White House, 44+1 people said, I can't remember who it was that said it. Somebody in his cabinet said that systematic racism doesn't exist in the police departments in America. Boy, stop. And of course, he speaks from a place of privilege, so he could say that, and he actually probably believes it. Doesn't mean it's true. Of course, nothing that comes out of the White House is true, so what else is new, right? Nonviolence. That's where I was going with this. Dr. King talked about nonviolence. He talked about nonviolent protests. And the perception is that those protests were nonviolent. Well, that's a lie. Those protests were very violent. The difference is the violence didn't come from anybody black. The violence always came from the white folks who hated the idea that black folks was trying to get some levels of equality and justice. And that made white people violent. That is amazing to me that those protests were called nonviolent. They were extremely violent. So I believe that what we're witnessing today are nonviolent protests. Ain't nobody getting hit and, ain't nobody getting beat over the head with clubs. I haven't seen any dogs sicked on anybody. I haven't seen the water hoses turned on the masses. Pretty nonviolent to me. Yeah, a bunch of stuff got tore up. A bunch of destruction. I haven't seen any violence. So I think we should remove that from the vocabulary of what we're watching. That's just my opinion. So it's just, what do you do? What do you do with what we got going on, y'all? I'm going to be waiting with bated breath to see what happens tonight. because, of course, the curfews are in place. The troops are marching in the streets of America to quell the protest of the American people, to silence their voices, to stop their looting. And the agent provocateurs will continue to agitate and stir the pot and create more havoc. One of the original, back when they were in Minneapolis the other day, I think that was Tuesday or Wednesday, when the AutoZone got burned down. There was a guy who has been identified as a police officer, and his own ex-wife is the one who identified him, along with other people from the neighborhood who recognized him as a police officer. He was the one that broke out the windows of the AutoZone. He got it kicked off. Agent provocateur. This is one of those individuals. Enrique Shepard. Violence is what they know. It's a learned behavior for us. Absolutely. Ain't no fun when the rabbit got the gun. And this is what you're starting to see. Now, you know what? And that brings me to this. Let me address this. Because I keep hearing people say, oh, they want to start a race war. Nah, ain't going to happen. That is an old concept that comes with the old guard. In the old guard, that was the dividing line, black and white. All I want you to do, watch your televisions, and you will quickly see that dividing line has become very blurred. When this thing jumps off, let me take that back, because I hope it don't jump off. If this thing jumps off in a civil war unrest type situation, it is absolutely going to be the government against the people. People forget about the Boston Tea Party, where looting and destruction were the order of the day. See, this country was founded on violence. It was founded on slavery. It was founded on a lot of things that we question today, or we say that we don't want as part of our lives, without which we wouldn't have things the way that they are. The guns. Without the guns, they couldn't have this country. They couldn't do what they did. So, in the end, where are we with this? Nicholas Brown Insurance Company is going to have to pay out bucks. This is going to cost. Oh, wait a minute. Let me go back. I lost it. Oh, there we go. Money that hits them and where it hurts. Exactly. You know, since you say that, you're absolutely right. The economics of this, and this is what this show today was all about. And once again, like always, I had no intentions of going this long. I get into these stories, especially with what's happening right now, and I end up going longer than I intend to. I want to be concise, but it just keeps going. It's like a rabbit hole, man. You go down that thing and you can't get out. The economics of this entire situation is what is going to be the catalyst for the depression that we're going to be entering into. I believe we've already entered into it. We just haven't seen it. It hasn't hit us real hard yet, but it's about to. The COVID-19 already had us on that path. This is going to do an awful lot of damage. The insurance companies, yes, they're going to have to pay off an awful lot. The deficit of this country is at an all-time high. We have alienated ourselves from our allies in the world. We just removed ourselves from the World Health Organization. Let me stop. We didn't do a damn thing. That egomaniac in the White House decided that his ego is bigger than the health of the people in this country. So he removed us from the World Health Organization, where they cross-share information dealing with pandemics and health issues and the like, in the middle of a pandemic. Who does that? Well, we know who does it. There are going to be a lot more problems coming down the pipe financially for this country. If we're not careful, we actually may never recover from it. We take a lot of things for granted because we live in America, and we've been conditioned to believe that America is the greatest country in the world. And I'll be honest with you, I don't see myself living anywhere else. And I won't even say that it's the greatest country in the world, but it's what I know. It's what I'm accustomed to. It's what I'm familiar with. I know how to navigate, even with all of the pitfalls that I have to deal with as a black man in this country, knowing that there are those out there like Derek Chauvin that would rather put their knee on my neck and see me dead than to give me justice, simply because I'm a little darker than he is. So the simple fact is, our new normal is not going to look anything like what it does right now. The one thing that I guess that I can say that I'm happy about to some degree is the fact that I have the right to bear arms in this country. And at least I feel like, and it may even be a false sense of security, at least I feel like I have a fighting chance on some level. I can at least defend myself and my family to some degree. Because if it gets real ugly out here, for those of you who are not familiar with firearms and you're not familiar with things of that nature, let me suggest that you become familiar, and very quickly. Because if you think that the very people that you continue to beg for your freedom and beg for your justice are going to give it to you freely, baby, look, you better wake up. They ain't giving away nothing. I say it every show. Power concedes nothing without demand. And when you don't have anything in your favor, you can demand nothing. When you don't have any power and you don't have any sort of chips on the table to work from, what are you bargaining with? You don't have nothing to demand. You can't demand nothing. And you can't take nothing. And if you can't take nothing, you can't hold nothing. Can't hold nothing, you ain't gonna get nothing. Y'all know what it is. So my man puts up the orange line is, let's see, request public safety official. So they shutting down all the bus lines in Chicago right now. Wow. Okay. I see what's happening. So my point again, though, is this. Protect yourself. Prepare. Because everything that we are continuously believing is our safety net, and the things that we take for granted every single day could easily be snatched from under you tomorrow, next hour. At some point, you got to realize, man, it's getting real out here. It's easy when we sit back on our couches and our armchairs and we watch this protest play out on television and we think that, oh, that ain't got nothing to do with me. Oh, it got everything to do with you. And you can best believe it's coming. It's coming to a place right near you. All the people who believe that they can sit back and do nothing, well, it's about time you get up. Your time is coming. Everybody that's been made to feel comfortable, especially my Caucasian counterparts, it's time for you to feel uncomfortable. And if you think what we're going through right now is uncomfortable, it's getting ready to get real unbearable. But I'm going to say this. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm blowing smoke. I hope I'm a conspiracy theorist and I'm going too far. That's what I hope. I really do. But all I can say is that if it comes to that, I'm going to make sure that I'm in a place of preparation to protect myself and my family. It's necessary. All the movies y'all been seeing, my man just referenced, Dennis just referenced Mad Max and the Thunderdome. Man, don't play no games. Them movies, all of them movies. I'm gonna give you a prime example. What was that movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger where he had to go to Mars and all that sort of thing, and they were showing all of the different things that were taking place in that movie, all of the modern technologies and all that. We ain't too far from a lot of that stuff. We in trouble, y'all. We've been comfortable for a long time. Things are about to change. They are about to change. I don't know how soon. I don't know how far in the future. But you better remember things have already changed. Our new normal. You can go back and find my show. You can go on my YouTube channel. Subscribe to my YouTube. BM Forbes on YouTube. The Black Factor on Twitch. Or you can go to my website, bmforbes.com. But I did an entire show where I talked about nothing but the new normal. To add to what the new normal is going to be, specifically because of the unrest that we are witnessing over the last week. I don't know how long this can go on. I don't know how long this can be sustained, because I'm going to tell y'all now, the first cop, I watched a cop yesterday on one of those feeds get angry and take his baton and approach a woman, and another cop snatched his baton out of his hand and told him to calm down. Yesterday we saw in New York a police squad car run over a barricade and almost run over several people, which they are saying now is under investigation. We are where we are right now because of overzealous police officers, because of police officers who have taken it upon themselves to believe that they are the judge, jury, and executioner. I watched two different incidents yesterday on different feeds where police officers went to grab someone, and as they did, the crowd grabbed them. They then turned around with a level of arrogance that was pretty amazing to me, believing that they were going to grab the next person or do something to someone, and the crowd grabbed them again and did things to them. Does that gun and that badge provide them with such a level of safety in their mind that they think that they can't be touched? Are they wearing a shirt underneath that uniform with an S on it? All I'm going to say to my officers out there is use common sense and be careful. These people are not playing. This is not a game. Your authority only goes so far. In the grand scheme of things, although you operate under the color of law, don't get confused about your power. You think you have power. You've been led to believe that you have power. But when the people have had enough, your power is out the window. When there's enough people where they outnumber you and your ranks, you have no power. The people are your power. The taxpayers and the taxpayer dollars are your power. And if you think that these people are going to stand by and allow you to continue doing the things that caused all of this in the first place, you're sadly mistaken. Wake up, bruh. Stop trying to be super cop. Stop treating people like they're animals and like they are beneath you. Now, needless to say, this is not to all of my police officers, but we do know that there are plenty of you who believe that you are above the law and that you are somehow a superhuman. Don't get your head busted. It only goes so far when you got your gang members with you. It's only gonna go so far when you don't. And when you got that many people out there in the public, they can't get to you like that. Where's your humanity? Be human. Remember that these are still people. Remember that everybody that you grab is somebody's son, daughter, brother, uncle, cousin, father, mother, and the list goes on. And as you can see, apparently, George Floyd has a global family now. And y'all put y'all hands, obviously, on the wrong dude. He may not have been anybody to you, but boy, look at him now. His name will go down in history because of the movement that is behind the name George Floyd. He's going to be like Mrs. O'Leary's cow. Kicked over Atlanta and burnt the whole city of Chicago down. Well, y'all put your you put your knee on his neck, and now the whole country is burning down. Imagine that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think I've done too much as usual. But I want to thank everybody for checking in. Like I said before, subscribe to my YouTube channel, BM Forbes, at YouTube, bmforbes.com for your copy of The Black Factor. And don't forget to check with my girl in Orange, Florida, and get your Royalty LLC. Great product. My girl Terry Jenkins down there in Orange, Florida, and she can be reached at 386-344-7744, and her email address is tjenkins@royaltyllc.com. Don't forget to get your tea on. Some good tea too, man. I've been enjoying the hell out of it. I've been making it about a pitcher. I know that sounds crazy, but I have. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for checking in, and I want you to all, I hope that I've planted some seeds and given you all some food for thought, and at least give you something else to pay attention to in regard to the events that are coming and the things that we're going to see on the news tonight. There's more to it all. A lot more. And I know that we have to be careful about the other sinister things that are underlying and that are taking place, because there's a lot more to this. I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop. So, Cynthia, that's Royalty LLC. Boom, there you go. Royalty. Good stuff, man. I'm going to give you her number one more time. That's Tara Jenkins, and her number is 386-344-7744. Quake, you can get my book at bmforbes.com in the shop section. I've got your book here too, brother. I appreciate you. Ladies and gentlemen, I want y'all to know we got a celebrity among us, Mr. Quake Styles. That brother right there runs real deep. Chicago legend. So, like I said, y'all, pay attention to what's happening. Look at this thing with what, like my man Joe Madison on SiriusXM likes to say, look at this thing with your third eye. Pay attention. And make sure that what you see is what you're really seeing, and learn to put the puzzle pieces together, make it 2 and 2. But I have a pretty intelligent crowd, and I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank y'all very, very much. And we're going to get up out of here, because I'm going to go and drink me some of this royal tea right quick, and get back in front of my television and on my computers and see what else is going on in the world and how much stuff going to get tore up tonight, and see what the next turn is going to be. So that means 9 times out of 10, y'all going to get to see me again tomorrow, because something else going to come up. I mean, it's just as simple as that. I've been on every day for the last, 3 or 4, 5 days or something like that. So, you know, it is what it is, y'all. We got to check it out and see what's happening. So, love, peace, chicken grease, and I'm out.